The first ever guinea pigs I ever met were my mom's guinea pigs. I don't remember their names, and I don't think I ever knew them in the first place, but it didn't matter because me and my sister put them in a dollhouse and fed them M&Ms and they died. In my defense, I was like 5. About a year or so later, I went to live with my aunt. My cousins had their own guinea pigs. My cousin Sedona's guinea pig was named Henry, and my cousin Atlas's guinea pig was named Jack. And side note, there was another Jack before that one, but I never met him. He didn't die, I think, but he had something wrong with him, I don't freaking know, and my aunt didn't want him to die, so she gave him back. Apparently, when Sedona and Atlas went to get Henry and Jack from the pet store, my aunt asked Sedona, "Are you sure you want that one?" when she picked Henry. And then when Sedona did pick Henry, my aunt wanted to name him Eric, but Sedona didn't let her, so it became his middle name. I don't remember much about Jack, but him and Henry were good friends. Henry I also don't remember much about, other than he would purr when you pet him, but I never really took time to bond with him. A story Sedona told me was that one time she was eating, spicy something, and Henry got a tiny crumb of it, and then, froze. And then she got water, and he just chugged it. I remember being told this story, but it might not be true because every time I tell Sedona a story that she told me, she denies it and said it never happened and that I'm making up things, so I don't know. Another time, Henry also bit up a huge chunk of Sedona's hair. Henry was spoiled. And unfortunately, Jack died about a year after he was brought into the house, so rip. After Jack died, from reasons that I will not go into detail about, Atlas got a new guinea pig who he was gonna name Jack, but then changed his mind because we seemed to have bad luck with that name. He changed it to Rocket, and Rocket is a creature. His eyes are always bulging out of his head, not because of fear, that's genuinely just how he looks. He's creepy. One time I was holding him while Sedona was next to me and I jokingly said, "I know your secret." And he really, turned around so fast and just, stared at me. When Henry and Rocket were younger, they were friends, and my aunt told us about a story that one time they escaped the playpen, and Henry was walking down the living room with Rocket following behind him, and my aunt walked in and yelled, "Hey!" And Henry looked back and then scrambled back into the playpen, with Rocket following him and then struggling to get back in. Unfortunately, when they got older, they became mortal enemies. On a random day a while later, my aunt barged into the house, and despite this being years ago, I remember word for word what she said. "Hurry, get outside, there's something I want to show you, and I want to show you now! What? Now!" Terrible fucking voice acting, oh my god. So we all went outside and watched as she opened her trunk, revealing 2 new guinea pigs, who were girls. It's very hard to find female anything, at least where we live, because pet stores only sell males. My aunt got these 2 from a person who didn't want them anymore, and I'm pretty sure they had, fleas or some crap, I don't know. Their names were Roxy and Rosie. Roxy was Rosie's mom. My oldest sister got to have Roxy, and me and my other sister got to share Rosie. Yay. I'm gonna be honest, the first few years of having these 2, I didn't really care about them too much. Eventually, my oldest sister was put on duty to cleaning their cage, and she learned to hate them. I happily decided to swap with her and also steal Roxy. Why Roxy? Because I liked the way she looked more. But Roxy did not like me. One night, when I got done cleaning their cage, Rosie came up and sniffed my hand, and I realized how much better she was than Roxy. Never judge a book by its cover. I started bonding with Rosie more and more. She posed for freaking pictures. She came over to me when she was on the ground, and I took her outside to eat food a lot. One time, she was snuggling up in my arm, and by guinea pig law, this meant I was absolutely not allowed to move. She also rarely ever peed on me, so that was me. I learned how to say Henry, Rocket, Roxy, and Rosie so that when people would ask me about my guinea pigs, I would respond with that. One day, we were all going to go to some kid's birthday party, but we weren't able to make it because we got lost. The location we were given was wrong. We happened to be around a big fun mall, so we all went there instead. My aunt had wanted a black or gray guinea pig, and she was on a mission. The pet store in the mall that we went to, that I'm pretty sure got shut down because of how terrible it was for the animals, had dogs barking extremely loud, and then there's just an area with a bunch of small scared rodents. My aunt saw a fat black guinea pig all alone in the cage, scared to death and pitiful. Scared, alone, and pitiful. And she came out of that room with Nigel. So I switched my tongue twister to Henry, Rocket, Roxy, Rosie, and Nigel. Nigel was the fattest guinea pig I had ever met in my life. This video is scripted if you couldn't tell. Maybe a few years later, I was chilling on the couch with Rosie and she peed on me. How rare. So I put her back and changed clothes and didn't mess with her until the next day. The next day in question, when I went to hold her, I scolded her a bit, but I was holding her in a way I could see her belly. I saw a tiny red mark on her neck. I freaked out and went to show my aunt, and she said it was probably just ringworm since my oldest sister had it recently, and that I should hold her less and wash my hands after I did hold her. And for a while I listened. I mean, every once in a while I would hold her behind my aunt's back, but nothing ever happened. So, it was fine. Eventually, my aunt found out that it wasn't ringworm and it was skin cancer, which cancer is very common for guinea pigs when they get old, especially females. What I do regret is that even after I found out I could hold her again, I just didn't. There wasn't a reason, I was just used to not doing it. As Rosie had cancer, Henry ended up getting cancer too, and he died after a while, which sucked. But he did live a happy piggy life. One night after I finished cleaning Roxy and Rosie's cage, Rosie walked from her bed and looked up at me, kinda like sniffing the air. I decided I would hold her after I was done with chores, and I did. But during that, Rosie kept rolling over and then struggling to get back up, which is not normal for guinea pigs. I brushed it off and held her for a while until returning her to her cage. The next morning, she passed away, and I'm just glad I spent time with her before that. Roxy was not very happy and stopped eating for a bit. I decided to try to bond with Roxy again, and it worked. Me and her are chill now. I returned home from a visit to my cousin's house one day, to my cousins and my sister with a box. They made me play that game where I, guess the object from what it feels like. The object ended up being a little baby guinea pig named Theodore, Theo for short. My aunt was suspecting that Theo was blind, so after a while she got him checked and found out, yes, he is, but now she thinks he's not blind, so I don't know for real. Here's a story for Nigel now. One time my grandma was over while my aunt was on vacation, and I explained to her that we were allowed to take the pigs outside as long as we kept an eye on them. She was, of course, hesitant, but finally decided to allow it. I brought Nigel outside and put him on the grass just like I had many other times with the other guinea pigs. But Nigel decided he wanted to be quirky and he freaking takes off running! I ran after him, and in a moment of panic, as I watched him get closer to the woods, I lunged for him and dove, grabbing him and rolling over on my back, holding him with my arm. I just lay there for a second, and then started laughing, just from the relief and shock. Another little while later, my aunt gets home with 2 new guinea pigs, brothers, named Louie and Fred. My oldest sister fell in love with them, especially Louie, because Louie had a clubbed foot, which means it was upside down, and he was also a wimp. As expected, my oldest sister ended up getting tired of them after a week. Roxy was moved to my room, and Louie and Fred were moved to Sedona's. They smelled girls, since they were put in the place where Roxy originally was, and then they started fighting. Louie bit Fred's lip, so it was basically hanging. It healed over time. But safe to say, these two were separated. My aunt sometime later wanted to get Roxy a friend, so like any normal person would do, she waited to go visit somebody in Boston, got a baby female guinea pig, snuck it into the hotel, and drove back home with her in the passenger seat. My aunt named her Pepper, but I call her Peperica. Roxy was stolen from me, because I guess I'm not fit to have 2 in my room, which, fair. Sometime later, Louie and Nigel also ended up dying, because of the terrible freaking bets, mind you! And as of today, Roxy, Pepper, and Theo are in Sedona's room, and Rocket and Fred are in Alice's room. Now, to tell the story of why I hate Fred! So I was giving him a bath one day, because he's nasty! And when the water was drained, I was about to pick him up. But he jumped out at the sink and onto my chest and started crawling down my shoulder as Sedona watched from her room. There might be a part 2 of this in the future, because my aunt loves guinea pigs, if you couldn't tell. I listened to the recording and my lips were smacking the whole time. So sorry.